We're going to switch gears again, and my friend Junichi is going to share. Traditionally, on the last Sunday of each year, we've had a testimony-type Sunday where people share what God has been up to in the lives of some locals. And we have a long-time Worcester local. He can probably tell you, he can probably map out these mountains for you if you need some ideas of where to go later on. But without further ado, Junichi, thank you for just your willingness to share here this morning.
Thank you very much, Kelvin. I am Junichi Matsunaga. I am originally from Tokyo, Japan. I have lived in Worcester for over 20 years. And today I'm very glad to share how God has been working on my life. And please, I'd like to apologize in advance because of my English. I've never spoken in front of lots of people, even in Japanese. So, last week Kelvin texted me, saying if I can do this. I had to think about lots, and I almost didn't want to do. But my wife goes, "If you die tomorrow, you'd really regret." And I said, "Yes." I don't want to go to the heaven and telling God I gave you a chance, but now I'm doing this. So thank you, my wife Akiho. And I prayed a lot for today, and lots of people prayed for me. And finally, I had my favorite socks to me, so that helps me too. I like to share how, yes, it really has been helping me, and God is truth to my life. 3 years ago, I was not a believer, and I heard about Alpha somehow, and I had some interest in knowing more about Christians, so I decided to join. And for those of you who don't know the Alpha, it is an 11-week course. I think you can show the slide, Paul, that creates space where people are excited to bring their friends for a conversation about faith, life, and God. Each session includes food talk and small group discussion. From the first session, I really enjoyed the video and discussion. There are always great food, great film to watch, and you recognize lots of images in this video, like Vancouver and Squamish. And the discussion at the end of the Alpha always feels too short. Always organizer have to come to the table and give you 5 minutes warning. That's it. And it was really, really enjoyable. And that's the kind of of image. You know, it's about 2 hours. For each session from the beginning, it was very interesting to me. I remember I did a very little talking about Alpha or God during the discussion, but it was still very interesting to me listening to other people's answers to the tough questions and regular questions. The very first session, the topic is about is there more to life than this? That was a great topic to me. I at that time I almost feel like I had enough in Whistler. I've been in Whistler almost 20 years. I felt like I hit plateau, and I was not really progressing. I was not enjoying life in Whistler fully. And parents back in Japan are starting to show aging. Kids were still young to adjust to Japanese culture if we moved to back then. I seriously started thinking about going back to Japan, and even had a couple of job interviews in Tokyo. Then thinking back, I'm thinking something was missing. I was longing for something. I was feeling empty, even after I skied beautiful powder, beautiful skies. I was feeling empty somehow. Here comes. There's Alpha. Is there more to life than this? So the first sessions, my friends Monica and Brian was there at the table as well, and I remember they're saying to me that the relation to the God is personal, and you start speaking to the God. At that time, I was not sure what speaking means. Now I know. I thought, do you hear the gods audibly or something like that? But now I know what it means, Monica. So it's like really speaking to the God and have a personal relationship, and really stuck on my head on my first sessions. And I also had imagined I had a door in my heart, and that door was locked tight with chains. I don't know, it's big chains or lots of small chains, but that was kind of imagination I had. And I did not know how to open the door of my heart. I had a struggle believing God and Jesus. And I didn't know how to believe the things you don't believe. And but I learned that prayer had some power to change life. And around session 4, this 11-week session, around session 4 or week 4, I experienced prayer. At the end of session, discussion and the video, at the table when I was sitting there, Ruth played for me, I remember clearly. And it was a very simple prayer. She thanked God for bringing me to the Alpha. She prayed that I opened my heart to Jesus, wide open. Then I seek God. That was a very simple prayer she did for me. And I thought, I can do that as well. I echoed my prayer in my heart many more times after that. When I think back, it was the prayer. And back then I didn't know, but it was the Holy Spirit. It really broke and removed all of the change, which was locked tight, door of my heart. And each session, I want more and more about Alpha. I want to know about God. It was great change. I was not still believing it, but it was very interesting. Alpha communicated really well about God to me. I agreed with so many things about God's work, which you learned through the Alpha sessions. And I attended all of the 11 sessions, including Weekends Alpha, which happened in Chakama Center. It was overnight trip. And I really enjoyed that as well and had a great experience. The Alpha ended in February, and Grace and John Block opened their home after the Alpha, and they did post-Alpha course, because Alpha course, you made lots of good friends and good relationship. And I really appreciated that John and Grace did it for us. And I think I attended all of the post-Alpha course as well. I was very, very enjoying the Alpha. Then that year, July 2017, I realized I believed in God, and I couldn't find any other reason to say no to the God. And I had no reason to not do the baptize either. So I took the baptize course with John, Pastor John at Nita Lake Cafe. Later, my friend told me if I had some job interview, and I said no. There was a baptize course. It looked like a job interview when I was doing the baptize course. And I took a couple of baptize courses with John, and 2017 in July, that was I baptized at the River of Golden Dreams in Whistler. For those of you don't know, this is my pictures. I chose this picture because I was praying the canoes not hitting me while I was getting baptized, and canoe avoided. So that was great. And it was very cold water even in July, but it was the best refreshing I've ever had. And next picture, Paul, I think that was when I got baptized right after. And if you can slide to the next picture, I went to rock climbing after. That's the sports I really love. I actually do some rock climbing guiding as well in the summertime. And after the baptize, I wanted to do something I really enjoy. So I went to rock climbing in Squamish. If you know the rock climbing route, this is a hairpin. It's called Hairpin 10A in Squamish, just by the Shannon Falls. And it was very good memory for me. And during the Alpha, Paul, if you can show me the other image, this image really touched me. It's the light of the world. And in this picture, the image in a small print in the below, there's a Bible verse, Revelation 3:20. It says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in to him and eat with him, and he with me. And this image of the light of the world really touched me because I felt God is so patient with tremendous love. God never forced me to believe in him. God patiently waited for me so that I can open the door of my heart. But the prayer really helped me. My prayer and everybody's prayer and God's guidance. And I did not know how to open, so the prayer accomplished that. 15 years ago, I met my wife Akiho in Whistler. She already got baptized in Hiroshima, and she has been Christian for over 15 years when I met her. Despite her Bible study effort, her prayer, and many visits of the church, she took me, or even a revival in Red Deer. I had a strong struggle believing in Jesus. So 13 years, I had a very strong struggle. Many times I felt sorry for my wife, Akiho, because I knew I would never become a Christian. That's me thinking back then. And I saw her every dinner table, she gives grace to God. Once in a while, she asked me to pray, but I never did. And Akiho never forced me to become a Christian either. Her friends, Christian friends, also never forced me. They were so patient. So this light of the world is this is image, and also that's what my wife and her friends are doing to me as well. At that time, they were knocking the door of my heart, but never opened. I needed to open. And one note in this painting, someone mentioned that the doorknob is missing on Jesus' side. It's really hard to see from here, but if you look very, very carefully, there's no door knob on Jesus' side. And he's just standing and knocking. It's doorknob is in your side, and I was so glad I opened the door, and the prayer helped me. After I became a believer, the prayer became daily things, because I really experienced the power of the prayer, and the power became real. I pray at the dinner table, pray for my friends and family, and pray at my workplace. And after I became a believer, just everything's become so wonderful. I even pray when I'm skiing by myself. I just stop at the top of the runs and pray. It's wonderful, and all the snow's somehow much nicer. So I'm so glad. And when I was not believer, the prayer used to be very suspicious and uncertain and very gray zone to me. Now the prayer is 100% real to me. So are the Bible verses. The Bible is real to me. It's God speaking to me. When I was not a believer, over 13 years, I hardly picked up the Bibles, but now God's words are true to me, and I read the Bibles. So I want to share the few verses which have helped me after I became a believer. The first one, Colossians 3, 23rd. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. 3 years ago, around the same time when I was taking Alpha, I changed my job after working for 17 winters at the local helicopter skiing company. It was very fun, but I changed to become a general manager for much smaller guiding company. It was very challenging to manage a small company. I had so much stress, especially on finance and human resource. One day, my daughter, Nana, her name is Nana, brought back craft home, which she made at the Sunday school. In the craft, there I found a verse, Colossians 3:23. When I read it, it was like God talking to me. The verse encouraged and gave hope, even when I felt the work was not going well. When you see the company bank goes down, like the cash flow is getting low, it was really stressful. But somehow when I read this, I was just made me peace. So when I had a challenge at my work, I always went to this verse now, and then verse leads my heart straight to the course of the holy way. And 1 year ago, I changed my job again. But just so you know, I don't change all the time. I was doing 17 years for Heriskin company before that. So, and 1 year ago, I changed my job. This time to a completely different job. I work as a job role called parts coordinator for the local transit company. There are over 30 transit buses in Whistler, and I work as I manage the bus parts and inventory in the parts room. So next time you see the bus out of service on the street, you can blame on me. I forgot all the parts. And this is my job now. It's very different. At the beginning, I was overwhelmed, as it is completely different role as an industry from the guiding and tourism, which I always had done. The Colossians 3:23 really helped me past year on my new job. And now I really enjoy my job. It's just very different, but I truly love my current job more than my guiding and heli-ski guiding, skiing job. And July this year, I had another challenge in my current job. A new position opened up. There was a job posting in a management role. I was like, okay, great. I want to apply. My boss suggested me to apply as well, so I thought I almost got it because my boss told me. But after all, I did not get a job, and there's a company found a new manager, and he came in. It was tough feeling, the feelings I did not want, but I recognized I had some strong jealous because I was almost feeling like I should have got that job. I also felt the new manager was kind of enemy. We had many arguments and disagreements as well. I could not believe how stubborn he was and argued some same difference, but he probably would think same way to me as well. And I already knew the prayer is so powerful, so I actually prayed to the God, if it's a benefit to a kingdom of God, please get rid of him. And give to me the positions. I do not think that was my Holy Spirit who prayed, but the God said no to my prayer. I learned that as well. Last month, he came to my office, a new manager, and we were exchanging some conversations, and he expressed the stress. He just moved to Squamish from other area, so and with his wife and his small child, 3 years old. He expressed the stress of living cost is very high here. Tim Hortons coffee is 25% more here than Calgary. Also, he's stressed. His wife is very stressed about because waiting for approval of permanent residency. So that gets really stressful, and with a small child. And I offered him if he'd like to pray with me. He was in my office, and he kindly declined and said he would not believe any religion. But I said, I pray for your wife, and because his wife is stressed right now. His wife is Christian. He told me he drives her every day or every Sunday to church, and I also asked him to forward the video link to his wife from the Alpha Session 5, because I just finished Alpha Session 5 that time, and it was really great video about prayer. He really appreciated it, and since then I noticed a change, like positive change. We are much closer in positive way. He came to my office smiling, and he really appreciated that I praying for her, praying for his wife. He visit my office with a smile and good humor, and we respect each other. We found it's really good positive change. Then I said, God's work is amazing, because I just prayed for her, for his wife, and I just gave that note to him, and he's also probably recognizing the power of Jesus, although he's not believing it right now. And also, another God's amazing work is I recently got promoted, different job. Not he didn't lose his job. God gave me another job, new responsibilities, and they're really challenging. But now you know which verse I go to. I go to this Colossians 3:23 when it's challenging, and that really helps me working hard. Not for human masters, it's for the Lord. And luckily, I have my private office at my work now. So my daily thing is to listening to Daily Bread in Japanese. It's a 2-3 minutes devotions. And I start work day with this devotion. It really helps me and realize there's nothing more important than worshiping God. Even I want to rush. I feel like I want to rush. I don't want to waste time with devotion, but I sit down. First thing I do is open the computer and Bluetooth to my speaker, and I play this devotion in Japanese, and it's really great. I noticed I became less frustrated, very much slow to anger, and I have really good. I avoid all the gossips at workplace too. I even protected my new manager. When the manager came into new workplace, there's some. Some, how do you say that? That's back. They want to push back, right? So, but I had some really good positive change on me as well. And my brother Steve Antil, has his office in the same building. He's been a Christian in here for many years, and we sometimes pray at the workplace as well. That's very wonderful. We can do this. I sometimes visit his office and pray. He comes to me and pray. It's the best thing ever happened to me is that I can pray at the workplace. And so that's my the go-to verse for my daily work. When I had a challenge, I go to this. Next chapter Bible chapter verse I like to share is Ephesians 5:28. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. I'm weak. I say things I should not have said that to my wife. I say things I don't mean to, but my wife took completely different way sometimes. And things can get argument, disagreement. When the things get disagreement with my wife, I go to this verse, and really, I can really think about my wife with love. So even when I'm frustrated, angry, I go to this. And it was also interesting. My friend from the city texted me asking, in case his wife contacted me, can you say I'm with you? Like, why? I think he was cheating, and I said no. I don't want to say that, and I gave him this Bible verse, and he appreciated it. And even with my friend, I'm becoming much stronger in faith and I can give a really good word from the Bible. It was not easy for me to say this to my friend because I was worried about relationship with my friend, but I'm so glad I did it because that's what Bible said. That's what God tells us. So it's a great chapter verse for me and helps me with my marriage relationship and makes the relationship stronger as well. Next Bible verse I like to share with you, John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give it to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. 2 years ago, around Easter, my former coworker lost her life during ski guiding in avalanche accident. She was also a mother to a boy, who goes to the same school where my children go to. So I knew her, not only the workplace, but also I chatted to talk to her at the school when you drop off, pick up the kids. And when I heard the news, I could not believe the loss and the trauma her family had, and also my coworker who were first at the scene, digging her out of the snow, doing the first aid. And I was talking how difficult that time to my brother Steve Leggett, and who gave me this verse at that time. It really helped me because it was just so sad. I just couldn't believe it. And he also added some notes for me. He said, "I do not give it to you as the world gives." This sentence was a hard part because we want peace and comfort on our own terms all the time, and which are worldly. God sometimes allows or even sends a disaster to bless us. This helps us lean on Him and also to trust His forever eternal plans. This is developing each of us to have eyes and hearts that look at situations the way God looks. He wants people to come to Him for salvation. And this, after I read that, it really helped me. That I do not give it to you as the world gives. So many challenging, hard. It's just what just under the sun. The world is giving us, but God has way bigger plans, eternal plan. So I went through some difficult times, and this God's word really helped me going through this difficult time. Because there are so many times in the world you don't understand why it's happening. Then next chapter verse I like to share, Luke 18, chapter 18, verse 27. Jesus replied, "What is impossible with man is possible with God." If you can, Paul, show the next slide, the picture image. This is a picture in NICU. My boy Sosuke was my wife Akiho's in arms, and it's in a NICU, NICU in Vancouver Hospital. Children's Hospital in Vancouver on Oak Street. My boy Sosuke was born with Down syndrome or trisomy 21 with lots of complications. We went to lots of appointments, long ultrasound, 1 hour, 2 hours, and doctors are always looking very serious face, and my wife and I were always afraid. And always bad news. There was no good news about him. He was born with heart defect. For those of you don't know, Down syndrome or trisomy 21, with half of them have a heart defect, and my boy has a heart defect. And complications he also had was pulmonary hypertension and a blood tumor in his liver. That's how he was born. And there's many more, but those are the main things. I remember he was born with an emergency C-section, and when he was born, he was breathing a little bit, but he turned quickly blue and intubated very quickly. So, and he spent over 4 months in NICU. He had a life-threatening conditions. Medical team's prognosis is that he would not live and probably end his life in a half year. So those are the reality I had that time. So we have also been admitted to the Children's Hospice, Kanak Place, for end-of-life care, palliative care. So, instead of hoping for cure at the hospice, they manage the payment or, pain management. And so that, children can have so they don't feel any pain. And he went there, we stayed there just a couple of days. We didn't stay there for a long time. What happened to him now is that he actually survived. I want to show you other pictures of him. Oh, actually, this picture was in NICU with a Japanese samurai cloth. That was in May. In May at NICU, his condition was changing daily. So his grandma or Akiho's mother flying from Hiroshima, having this samurai cloth with, and we are really hoping that made when he was still alive, because that was the condition was changing minutes by minute and hour that time. But he made it. We got him on this samurai cloth and we had lots of visits. He was very popular in NICU. Many surgeons came and watched his clothes and took pictures and he despite diagnosis, we are told he can do some surgery. That his main defect was heart defect. There's a valve called the tricuspid valve. There's a 3 leaflets valve between right atrium and ventricle of your right chamber of your heart. And his leaflet is not placed properly, so it's leaking. The valve is there to have one-way flow, right? But his heart has displaced valve, so the blood is backflowing. And one time, I remember the X-ray image. His heart got so enlarged because blood was backflowing. It was wall to wall. He was very small, and his heart was wall to wall. And doctors said, there's really nothing we can do. And lots of people prayed for us. I know many friends here visited us in NICU, and many people prayed. I remember I was walking. At that time, I was walking past by the concierge at the Hilton. My friend was working there. I think her mother is a Christian. I've never met her, but she stopped me and said, Junichi, my mother is praying for your kid. I was really touched. I was not Christian at that time, but I felt lots of love and prayers. And my boy got stronger, and when he was out of hospital, he was home. We had 7 days support from nursing service. Nurse came to night so we can sleep. He had a CPAP, he had oxygen, he had many medications we had to go through. And he was fed by tube as well. He couldn't have enough energy to eat by himself, so he were feeding through the tube. But now he's 10, and he's very tough. Now the challenge for now is he runs away. He's too energetic. He always runs off, and so that's why I just wanted to mention. I know that, like Luke said, what is impossible with man is possible with God. That's what Jesus said, and I already experienced that. I wish I was a Christian that time and prayed with my wife at that time, but I also even experienced when I was not a believer about God's miracle. Then Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. This is the only Bible verse I knew before I became a Christian. My wife was Christian at the time, and she gave me this verse. I think I remember this from one of her Bible study, and I really liked this. So although I was not reading Bibles or going to not believing at that time, I think I always had this in my head, and subconsciously I must be seeking God, and so door will be open to you. So I also want to say, so the thing, this past year, I did enjoy the many church events and home groups. One of the home groups I joined is Cherish. It was about married couple for Christians. Craig and Linda opened their homes, and we learned about how deeply respect each other as a marriage couple. And with God's help, Jesus' help, this is really great home groups. And I also joined Young Life. There's a picture of Oh, this is actually Sosuke, another Sosuke's photo. I really like this photo. He's from last year. I just want to show the pictures for how he is strong now. He's not in hospital. He's very stable. It's amazing thing is he still has this defect in his heart. Every year we have his heart checked. It shows the backflow still, but his body is coping, and he has no restrictions. He can run, jump, and he's just getting stronger and stronger. It's very amazing. And I also want to mention, sorry, sidetrack, but I also want to mention that other church events I joined was Young Life. We raised money for the Young Life in Christian youth events. This is the picture of Anne here, and we did ride a bicycle from Whistler to Squamish to raise the money for the Young Life. It was very cold. It was raining, wet, but we had so much fun. And I also now, I mentioned to you a couple times, I really love Alpha. And now this year, I have a privilege to be a table host. So now I met lots of great people at the Alpha table, and I ask questions instead of answer the questions like before. Then Alpha, this is my fourth time I'm doing the Alpha because I love so much Alpha, and I learned every Alpha. Every year it's different. I learn new things on every Alpha course, and this year I really learned Holy Spirit, testified Spirit. And counting blessings is also very important. Before I count problems or challenges, I also realize how many times I've been blessed. If you can go to the pictures, that's what this is the pictures. I have so much blessings now. It's when I'm skiing, when I'm going backcountry skiing, having dinner. It's just so much blessings I have. I learned this through the God's power. I read many books, Christian author in Japanese as well, and that's how God's been helping me. And in the end of this my sharing story, I like to end with this chapter verse, Matthew 28:20, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. And this is a very hope for me and encouraging from the gods. So thank you very much.